I will call to order the meeting for Wednesday, January 29th. May I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Allen.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton. Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
I would like to welcome everyone here in the audience as well as everyone watching or listening today at home. We will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Father Kenneth Clem from Sacred Heart Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of this day, for allowing us to gather here in your name. We give particular thanks here on this celebration of our state's founding here on Kansas Day. We pray here in a very particular way for that outpouring of your Spirit upon all of our officials, upon all of those gathered here today, that all our discussion and deliberation might be always directed there to your greater glory and to be filled with that grace of your presence. And we pray this, like all things, in the name of your beloved Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Father Clem. We will move on to public comments. Do we have any registered?
None registered.
That'll move us on to item 7, appointments, proclamations, recognitions, nominations, and public hearings. Item 7A is the proclamation recognizing Kansas Day on January 29th, 2025. Kansas Day, celebrated on January 29th, 2025, marks the 164th anniversary of Kansas's admission to the Union. This proclamation highlights the state's rich history, pioneering spirit, and enduring determination symbolized by the state motto, Ad Astra per Aspera. The Franklin County Historical Society will accept this proclamation, which will be read by Commissioner Kaler.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas January 29, 2025 marks the 164th anniversary of the state of Kansas becoming a state. And whereas the land that would become Kansas came to be a part of the United States with the acquisition of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. And whereas Kansas entered the United States as a free state during the presidency of Abraham Lincoln of 1861. And whereas the state seal contains the state motto, Ad Astra per Aspera, a Latin phrase which means to the stars through difficulty. This motto, adopted in 1861, refers not only to the pioneering spirit of the early settlers, but also during the difficult times Kansas went through before becoming a state. John James Ingalls, a powerful voice in early Kansas history, suggested the motto as an expression of an aspiration of Kansas to reach the unattainable. Its dream is the realization of the impossible. Now, therefore, the governing body of the city of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim January 29, 2025 as Kansas Day, and reminds all of its citizens to celebrate the rich and powerful heritage of Kansas, a land of determination and strength. Signed this the 29th day of January 2025 by our mayor.
All right. Hey. Well, happy Kansas Day. As you might recall, when you invite the Historical Society to accept the proclamation, you get a history lesson in return. So today's lesson is inspired by the important conversations we're having statewide about water, preserving our landscapes, and ensuring we're leaving a healthy space for future generations. So today we're going to talk trash. What you're seeing on the screen is a close-up of a page from the 1884 Sanborn Fire Insurance Map. You're looking at the area between 2nd and 3rd Streets on the east side of Maine, and what I want to draw your attention to is the little blue dots that you see around structures all over this map. Those are water wells, because this is before the city had public water. And in 1884, Ottawa did not yet have the infrastructure in place to deliver that clean running water to buildings, and it also did not yet have a sewer system in place, which is why you see many little square buildings on the properties. Those are outhouses, which are politely called closets in a lot of texts. Now, we're missing, we're missing a slide. Oh, well. Okay. What you would have seen had the slide somehow made its way over, although some towns established central community wells that were sometimes used long after World War II, Franklin Countyans tended to install wells on individual properties. Digging a well could be dangerous, but also it occasionally resulted in the discovery of mastodon bones. A nearly complete mastodon skeleton was discovered in the 800 block of Main Street this way. But wells, especially wells in a flood-prone area, are difficult to keep sanitary, and rainwater washes through agricultural areas and outhouses on its way to draws and creeks. In 1910, nearly 25% of all typhoid cases in Franklin County were connected to Skunk Run. By 1888, water and sewer lines are being installed in Ottawa. Water was pulled directly from the Merdocine River on the west side of town and piped into homes and businesses. Sewer lines, such as they were, carried raw sewage straight to the river on the east side. However, you were not required to attach your house to either or both of these services, and outhouses or closets continued to be common even in the city of Ottawa through World War I. Now, a truly underappreciated challenge of any city is what to do with your trash. Paper and glass, garbage, food and animal waste, and what is referred to politely as night soil, which is the contents of those outhouse closets. And as Ottawa grew, it needed to maintain a safe way to dispose of trash and garbage. During the 1890s, the newspapers began to fill with complaints about the refuse problems. There is no official place to take your garbage, so it's getting tossed in the streets and alleys or over the side of the Main Street Bridge. So what you're looking at now, this is actually based on a 1920 map, and all of these dots are places that would serve legally or illegally as dump sites in the city of Ottawa in its early years. In 1897, E.M. Sheldon gives the city permission to dig a trench to the river behind his slaughterhouse on the east end of 3rd Street. The idea was that citizens would stand at the edge of the ditch and fling their garbage as far as they could into the water, where it would be swept away, presumably to Osawatomie. But this plan was fraught with problems. For one, people ignored the no night soil rule, which also gives us an image of Ottawans carting the contents of their outhouses across town. And for another, it was difficult to fling your garbage into the river, especially when the river was low. This meant that the garbage and night soil piled into a berm, which was, it turned out, right in front of the sewer drain that exited into the Merdocine River, blocking the sewer. Dr. J.G. Van Schoik, a member of the Board of Health who just happened to live downstream of this mess, raised the alarm, and Ottawans complained vehemently about the odor and health concerns. The dump was closed in 1900. The problem, then, is that there's nowhere to take your refuse. It was illegal to burn your trash or dump it within 5 miles of the city, but the city also didn't provide any legal place to dump your stuff. Ottawans were generally forced to pile trash, garbage, and night soil on their property until they could sneak it off somewhere in the dark of night when no one was looking. And I'll also remind you, at this time, most people were still using horses and mules for transportation, and they kept cows and hogs and chickens in town. And sometimes those animals died, and they couldn't dump those carcasses anywhere. So by 1901, a reporter at the Ottawa Daily Republic made it their life's work to hassle the city council about this lack of legal place to toss garbage, sometimes running only a giant headline with no story that says, "Where is our dump?" The quandary the city finds itself in is that Ottawans demand the city do something because there is filth everywhere and the city smells bad and it's unhealthy, but Ottawans also don't want to pay for a dump or be told what to do with their garbage. In 1901, the city acquires land on the east side of town, this time between the intersection of Pontiac and Cherry and the Merdocine River. There's a high bank there, and again, people were expected to fling their refuse into the river. Not only did this not work well, but sometimes, because they're trying to toss garbage over a high bank, people accidentally flung themselves and their carts over the bank as well. In no time at all, citizens on the east side of town were complaining about the disgusting mess that was a city dump. And because it was so disgusting, people began creating dumps around town that were less precarious to access. One pops up at Pontiac and Cedar Streets. Another pops up on private property on the east side of town. And to the embarrassment of the city, the biggest users of this dump were city employees. All of the manure from the city's draft horses were taken there, and the entrepreneurial landowner would then make a tidy sum selling the manure to gardeners in town. A third dump pops up at the riverbank at Willow Street, which then carries the refuse through the center of town if there was enough water to carry it. At the official city dump, the boundaries of the 1 acre dump are now 10 acres, and all matter of trash and animals and night soil were spread over the land out in the open. Humans and animals in the vicinity were becoming ill. And at this time, the city developed a sort of amnesia about actually owning this dump and insisted that someone prove to them that they do, which the community did provide them with a copy of the deed. The dump was clearly not working, and the city began looking for other options. They nearly passed the construction of an incineration plant, with the city providing what they called trash scavenger service, but gave up because of tremendous protests from Ottawans who didn't want to pay for it. In April of 1912, along what many other Kansas towns were doing, the city held its first citywide cleanup. A teamster was hired to collect any trash except slop, manures, and night soil to take to the dump where it would be burned, but not by the incinerator, just out in the open. 1 month later, the city announces that an old quarry on the north side of town at North Cedar and Logan Streets, close to where Smoke Creations is today, would be a great place to have a trash dump. And they, in fact, filled it, covered it in soil, and made it into park and residential space eventually. Meanwhile, the dump at Pontiac and Cherry is starting to spontaneously combust. And this is probably not helped by the city's enforcement of prohibition laws, which involve dumping gallons and gallons of bootleg liquor onto the dump site. By 1921, Ottawa was considering a new approach: hogs. Topeka employed 2,500 pigs to eat garbage, and Ottawa calculated they would need 150 for the same level of success. But the city-owned hog-powered disposal site did not come to fruition. By 1923, the city was expected to have a water treatment plant for raw sewage, yet the city dump was still depending on the riverbank for trash removal. During flooding, the trash sometimes wandered right back into the city. And by the 1950s, the trash problem was about to get worse because the city dump at Pontiac and Cherry was slated to be destroyed by the flood control project. The League of Women Voters and other organizations were advocating for a sanitary landfill. The city goes so far as to pass an ordinance for compulsory trash disposal, complete with a sanitary landfill where trash is carted off and buried. But the backlash was real. Despite fielding thousands of complaints about the dump over the previous 4 decades, Ottawans did not want to pay for trash services or be told what to do with their trash. Citizens forced the measure to a vote in 1956 through a petition, and then Ottawa defeated the City Provide Trash Services measure through the ballot box. Because social media didn't exist yet, Ottawans took their voices to the editorial section of the Ottawa Herald. My favorite letter by Mrs. E.S. Bennett states, "I think all intelligent people in this age and day believe in democracy and sanitation," but she goes on to write that doesn't mean they should have to pay for a smooth working trash disposal system. After the defeat of the City Provide Trash Services measure, the city contracted with Leo Ferguson, who purchased land at roughly the corner of Logan and Nebraska Terrace. He would collect garbage, but not trash, and individual customers could set up their own accounts. Meanwhile, the city still needed to provide a place for people to take trash, not garbage, because the city dump at Pontiac and Cherry was still going to be destroyed by flood control. So the city buys the land east of Hope Cemetery, and people complained. They did not want to go past a dump to visit their relatives at the cemetery. That land would later become the Orlis Cox Sports Complex. So the city then goes to land that they actually already owned by the 2nd Street Dam and decides that would be a great place to have a sanitary landfill right by the water intake for the city and also upstream from the city. Here you've got a picture of Fred Wilson covering trash with a layer of dirt. But by the 1970s, there was a general agreement that having a landfill next to the river was not smart. There was also agreement that trash issues weren't just an Ottawa problem, but a county-wide problem. And the landfill that is now the transfer station is established outside of the city limits and not next to a river. As you know, we continue to struggle with what to do with our trash, and the County Commission's agendas are littered with requests to close rural roads because of their use of dump sites. But we also have seen some amazing efforts to make recycling accessible. We've seen the work of the Conservation District to protect soil and water. And in talking with an employee at the water treatment plant here in Ottawa a few years ago, I remember him telling me it's our goal to make sure the water leaving the city is as clean as the water we're providing to the city. Today, we're commemorating the founding of a state that drew many people here, for better or for worse, because of the land. It's my hope that we'll continue to have important conversations about how we care for that land and water so that future Kansans will be able to celebrate this space for many years to come. Thank you.
And that was Trash Talk with Diana Starson. Thank you very much for that information. We'll move on to item 7B, which is the proclamation recognizing February 2025 as Black History Month. February has been set aside nationally for Black History Month to allow an opportunity for citizens to become aware of the contributions African Americans have made. Richard Jackson will accept the proclamation, which will be read by Commissioner Skidmore.
Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas, 1915, Dr. Carter G. Woodson created the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, now called the Association for the Study of Afro-American Life and History. In 1926, introduced Negro History Week. And whereas, in 1976, a part of America's bicentennial celebration, the week was extended to a month and is now officially known as Black History Month. And whereas February has been set aside nationally for the observance of Black history, allowing an opportunity for many citizens in Ottawa to become aware of the contributions that African Americans have made towards the empowerment of the Ottawa community and country. And whereas today Black History Month continues to be an important time of reflection and celebration for all Americans. Whereas this observance of Black History Month must lead to the day when the history of the world will be void of national bias, race, hate, and religious prejudice. And now therefore be it resolved that we as a community assess where we are positioned at this time in our history and determine where we are going in the future. Let it be further be resolved that a true and objective presentation of history eliminates the foundation of racism for some and increases the self-esteem of others. Now therefore the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby recognize the month of February 2025 as Black History Month. Urges all of our citizens to join in observance of this month, signed this 20th day of January 2025 by our Mayor, Emily Allen. My good friend Richard Jackson will accept the proclamation.
I'm going to have Aaron accept it.
Please.
Excellent.
I'll make a few comments, then I'll introduce Aaron. I missed the Martin Luther King proclamation, but I thank you for the proclamation. And the thing to remember is that the program is always the Sunday before the holiday. So the holiday falls on Monday and the program falls on Sunday. So this year we had it at Westminster Presbyterian. We had over 225 students that attended from Wellsville and Central Heights and Pomona, etc. We had over 400 and some essays. Ottawa had the most with 336. The middle school was perfect. Everybody in the middle school wrote an essay. They said we had 30. First place was 100. Second place was 75. And third place was 50. So that went well. The only comment I would make in terms of Black History Month, if you read the book 1619, you read that, that'll pretty much give you an insight into where we are as far as Black history. And of course, we have to add Dr. King and much what transpired after that with a Black president. Dr. Reggie was the first Black president of Ottawa University. Reverend Hopkins, pastor Bethany Baptist Church, was first school board member, and we have others that we can name. So I want to introduce Erin Christopher, and a student from Ottawa University. She's president of the Black Student Union. She's the media coordinator, and she's also has played with the flag football championship, which Ottawa seems to have a hold on it. They won it. They won it for day one, and are still winning it. So, with that, Aaron.
Hey, hello. So, on behalf of Black Student Union, I prepared a little speech. Can I? Oh, this is fancy high tech. Sorry, I'm a little tall. Okay, so thank you for everyone joining us today on accepting this proclamation, declaring February as Black History Month here in Ottawa, Kansas. As president of Black Student Union, I am honored to speak on behalf of our organization and all Black students who are proud to call Ottawa University in Ottawa, Kansas, our home. This upcoming month, we celebrate the legacy of Black excellence, acknowledging the monumental contributions of Black individuals to our society, both locally and globally. We recognize the resilience, achievements, and ongoing strive for equality here in Ottawa. This proclamation signifies our commitment to learning and understanding and celebrating Black history as an integral part of our daily lives. It's a call to action for unity, education, and justice, inviting everyone to engage in our events and our conversations. Thank you, Mayor and members of our community, for this recognition. Together, let us use Black History Month to please foster growth, celebrate diversity, and promote a culture of respect and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great to hear from, especially someone from the university for this. So thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And thank you, Richard.
Before you go, if there are activities that are happening this month at OU, you can always let the city know, and we can certainly help promote those too, because we want to know about those too.
Yes, we have a
Yeah.
whole week of celebrations that we're
You should
doing.
send them our way.
Definitely will do that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have item 7C, which is the recognition of Larabe Alexander as a recipient of the Richard LaMunyon Hall of Fame Award. Recognition of Larabe Alexander as a recipient of the Richard LaMunyon Hall of Fame Award honors him for his significant contributions to the Kansas law enforcement torch run, benefiting Special Olympics, highlighting his dedication to program development, organization, and fundraising success. And we have Weingartner here.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Before I start, just want to add that since you do play for the university's football team, Aaron, we hope that the Chiefs can meet your 3-peat, and then you guys can go for the 4-peat for next year to 5-peat for next year. So they got some work to keep up, but you guys are setting an excellence for them. So kudos for that. Thank you very much. I'm going to invite Master Police Officer Larabe Alexander to join me at the podium here as I read some remarks for his selection. Since 1968, Special Olympics has served the largest sports organization for children and adults with intellectual disabilities by providing year-round training and activities to 5 million participants and unified sports partners in 172 countries. On June 5th, 1981, the Kansas Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics held its inaugural run in Wichita, Kansas. Through the efforts of a group of Wichita police officers and then Wichita Police Chief Richard LaMunyon, the torch run was created as a way for law enforcement to engage officers in community service projects. Since that time, the law enforcement torch runs for Special Olympics spread from the streets of Wichita to law enforcement agencies serving communities worldwide and is active in more than 180 countries around the globe. Since his employment with the Ottawa Police Department, Master Police Officer Larabe Alexander has been deeply involved with Special Olympics. He's raised thousands of dollars for Special Olympics through the torch run in such events as the Polar Plunge, Tip-A-Cop, and the torch run. He consistently raises more funds through his dedicated efforts than agencies much larger than Ottawa. He participates in the annual lighting of the torch in Wichita with athletes from around the state, including those from our area represented at COF, to light the torch for the summer games. He currently sits as an at-large member of the Executive Council for Special Olympics Kansas. And in late 2024, while attending the International Torch Run Conference held in the United States, he was honored and selected to be a member of the Richard LaMunyon Hall of Fame Award for Special Olympics. Additionally, last year, and to come soon in 2025, Larabe was chosen as a handful of officers from around the country to represent the United States in Turin, Italy, where he's going to carry the torch to light the flames that start the 2025 International Special Olympics. So I ask that you recognize his exceptional work in representing our department, our community, and those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and being just such a wonderful spokesman for that effort in our community. So congratulations, Larry. Thank you. And if Larry would like to, just ask you give a quick plug for what's coming for him here pretty soon as his international travel to Italy takes him on an adventure of a lifetime.
Hello, thank you. In 24 days, I'll be traveling to Athens, Greece to be a part of the flame lighting ceremony, and then I'll be carrying that flame from Athens all the way into Turin, Italy, where we will run through 11 cities throughout the Piedmont region, which is the northwest corner of Italy, on our way to the World Winter Games of 2025 opening ceremonies, where there'll be over 1,500 athletes from around the world that'll be there. 5 athletes from the state of Kansas, plus Olympic coach will be there as well on that journey. It is very fun, exciting. There are 79 officers throughout the world that'll be part of that, and then 107 total in our delegation. Any questions?
If you need an escort, I'll go with you.
I am seeking donations. Chief did mention polar plunges. I am doing a polar plunge while I'm in Turin, Italy. We'll be doing a polar plunge on the 9th of March while I'm there. Still don't know all the specifics of it quite yet, but I am raising funds for that fun adventure. So.
Very cool. I mean, I was going to offer myself as a sacrifice myself. We'll say as a water girl, but that's fine.
I do have a lot of volunteers that have offered to provide escorts over there. It's to represent the state of Kansas, to represent the city of Ottawa is a huge honor to be selected to do this and to be able to bring back the opportunity and pass it along is great.
You know, all jokes aside, Larrabee, I mean, you have really you have represented Ottawa well, and you have done such a great job with the torch run for so many years. I actually don't remember a year you weren't doing it. So I appreciate all that you've given, and I know that you've kind of roped your family into doing it and everybody else, and it's a family affair now, and I'm so glad that it is. But thank you for your time and dedication.
Thank you.
And this award is very well deserved. So congratulations.
Thank you. I do have my wife's in the back there, and my mom and my sister are here as well. But it is a family affair for myself and my family, and I'd like to thank Chief for giving me the opportunity back so many years ago to go to the first summer games and being able to go back every year to represent and to be there. It's fantastic.
Good job.
Congratulations again, and we'll look forward to hearing all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over here. Do you want to come up behind here? You're welcome to come up.
Is there an actual award? Is there an award? Do you actually get an award, or I mean, there's there a trophy? Oh, okay, good. That's exactly good. Good. Congratulations, Larry.
Congratulations, man.
That will move us on to item 7D, Proclamation recognizing January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. This month focuses attention on victims of human trafficking, which is a form of modern-day slavery and its far-reaching effects. Margot Self from Willow Domestic Violence Center will accept this proclamation via Zoom. This will be read by Commissioner Crowley.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Survivors of trafficking are among the most vulnerable of individuals and we must work together to address the root causes as well as create sustainable recovery options for those who have survived these atrocities. Survivor perspectives are important to solving the root causes, and it is important to include survivors and to keep those survivor-informed perspectives at the forefront of initiatives. Organizations that are taking the lead on human trafficking initiatives in Ottawa, Kansas include, but are not limited to, the following: the Ottawa Police Department, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center, the Elizabeth Layton Center, Advent Health, Ottawa University, Neosho County Community College, RADAC, Ottawa USD 290, and the Willow Domestic Violence Center. Whereas human trafficking, a modern form of slavery, is one of the largest and fastest growing criminal industries in the world and is based on recruiting, harboring, and transporting people for the purpose of exploitation. And whereas sex trafficking and labor trafficking occur in Kansas, and both adults and children of any gender, socioeconomic status, age, race, sexual orientation, or geographic location can become victimized. And whereas human trafficking includes sexual, verbal, emotional, economic, and physical abuse and exploitation, and all forms of abuse carry long-term complex trauma implications. And whereas Kansas human trafficking laws define commercial exploitation of children, which does not require a showing of force, fraud, threat, or coercion, and references the existing statutory definition of human trafficking and aggravated human trafficking. And whereas the effects of human trafficking reach far beyond its victims and perpetrators, causing disruption in our schools, places of work, and neighborhoods. And now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim the month of January 2025 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and urges the citizens of Ottawa to speak out against sex and labor trafficking and exploitation, to survivors of these heinous crimes, to encourage community leaders to hold offenders accountable, and to make preventable efforts a priority by hosting events, by creating policies at work, school, and home, and by supporting and participating in programs designed to reduce and eventually eliminate human trafficking as a societal problem. As a community, we will commit to creating and executing a comprehensive, collaborative, and trauma-informed response for the safety and security of human trafficking survivors. Signed this 29th day of January 25 by our mayor.
And we have Margot on Zoom.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Margot Self, and I'm the Director of Community Services at the Willow Domestic Violence Center. As you said, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and on behalf of the Willow, we want to thank the Ottawa City Commission for your recognition of this very serious issue. The Willow Domestic Violence Center has been providing supportive services that range from safe shelter and help with relocation to court advocacy and case management. We're honored to continue to serve the community to address these issues, and with the help of our community collaborators, we will continue to combat human trafficking through our services, in our collaborations, and in our prevention work. Thank you to the commissioners and the City of Ottawa for your collaboration, your ongoing support of our efforts, and your participation in this proclamation today.
Thank you, Margot, and all the other organizations listed in the proclamation for helping keep some of our most vulnerable members of our communities. We will move on to item 8, which includes our consent agenda, which are the minutes from January 15th, 2025 meeting, December 2024 financial report, outside agency reports for December of 2024, and the agenda approval. Do we have any discussion on those items?
I'll make the motion we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to item 9, which is the declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Seeing none, we will go past our unfinished business, as there is none listed, to our new business, which is item 11A.
Project updates.
And we have City Manager Silcott here for those.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners.
We will give just a brief overview on our current active major capital projects. This is not all encompassing. We have numerous ongoing smaller projects that aren't necessarily outlined in our capital improvement program that we also have undertaken. And as you know, we've had several large projects that were initiated with the funding stream that the federal government had opened up, both just prior to and during and as a response to the COVID pandemic. And with that, we are proud that we've been able to leverage outside dollars to fund these local initiatives so that we're utilizing the taxes of jurisdictions and taxpayers in other states beyond just the citizens of Ottawa. We're just asking for you to receive and file and ask any questions that you may have of myself or another member of the city team regarding these or any other projects. We have the Proximity Park Water Tower, and that's in a delayed status. We have a partial pump upgrade that should be completed in the fourth quarter of this year by December 2025. And at that time, once that high pressure pump installation's completed, then we will be able to finish this project. Now, the is part of the project, and that will be installed at the water plant, and that will enable us to not only provide pressure to fill the 500,000 gallons that are at that tank location, but also to improve pressure throughout town and to also assist us in hopefully getting the points necessary to reduce our ISO rating that will ultimately be reflected in lower property insurance premiums for fire insurance. But the good thing is we're utilizing the Proximity Park sales tax as well as the base grant, which is a federal funding program that we qualified for these funds, and we estimate the final completion to be wrapped up by the first quarter of 2026. But again, from a practical and utilization standpoint, December of 25. Our residential electric meter replacement, we are in progress and on schedule. We have had some supply chain issues, but all in all, that continues to proceed, and we are actively installing meters as you know they're necessary and needed. But this will complete the final collection of the meter technology that we need. We will present a full, more thorough project overview that includes the all of the moving parts that are necessary to go into this, because it's more than just purchasing meters. There's a lot of work on the back end and getting software from different companies to integrate and to work cooperatively, and to also enable us to utilize our Doppler system as we are integrating it. So that way we'll be able to map and be made aware of the outage locations for individuals who haven't yet had their meter installed, should that occur. And we're doing the same thing for our commercial customers, this 3-phase, and we're on schedule currently, and we anticipate a fourth quarter 2025 ideal timeframe for this to be completed. And this is again just through our General Electric capital outlay that we use for system upgrades. Our water plant evaluation, we're behind schedule, but it's essentially concluded. It's coordinating schedules, and we should have something to present to you here within the next 60 days regarding the findings of this. And again, this was funded through just our usual water operating fund. Pin Oak, which is a lift station that needed upgraded. We're on time and on target for both our budget and our action items for installation of this, and we're looking forward to having this completed here within the next 60 days. Commission room upgrades, as you know, it's been delayed, but we will hopefully have something to report back to you and have this completed, or at least a time frame in or around the late part of March, first part of April. And this just kind of goes through the projects that we completed last year, which includes the Kansas Gas Service line extension that was funded again through outside federal dollars, the Mulberry and Dundee stormwater and intersection improvements, the City Park playground upgrade, the Northeast Sewer Lift Station, our power quality study for the distribution grid, our water line replacement in the 1700 to 1900 block of Elm, and our security improvements here at City Hall, as well as our fire department comprehensive plan study. And then we did have a slight, it says 3.8%, but when it's small numbers, it looks larger than it is, of an overage that occurred for the splash pad. But we look at that as just making sure that we got exactly what we needed to get for that project. So we utilized, discretionary funds for that, so that it didn't impact the taxpayers. And then here's a breakdown of what we completed and what that time frame was, and just wanted to include that because was essentially finalized in that last reporting period. And this is a summary of all of our projects that we presented and kind of where they're at in process right now in total. And with that, I stand available for any questions that you might have, or if you got something more detailed, we have our department directors stand ready to answer as well.
Well, with that line of improvements, you might mention a little bit about the terrific infrastructure grant we're looking at from Sharice David's office. If you can update that, or can you
yes, and
people that,
we have her field rep is here today, as well as we had discussions on not only our our airport funding project, but also several other projects that are of interest, from the levy to affordable housing and everything in between. So right now we are still in progress. This allotment was part of our the BIL funding structure, which is federal dollars, and it was an additional allotment that we were grateful to secure and had anticipated funding support in that end, and are fortunate that that comes through, because even though you may be anticipating it and you've received tentative approval, actually getting it across the goal line when you're dealing with federal appropriations can be a question mark. And I don't know if you have anything that you would like to add regarding the BIL funds and the airport project, or?
I don't have anything.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you for taking time to pop into our meeting today. I know you're busy, and we appreciate that.
So can those federal funds be used as our portion of some of those aviation projects out there?
They go into part of that, yes, but also when we presented the project budget, that was anticipated as it's not part of our 10%, but it was part of that funding mix that does go toward that amount. So it's not increasing the total amount required for our 10%. No, it's over and above. So the total project cost that we're anticipating is roughly $2.6 million to do the entire 3 phases at once.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Oh, that moves us on to our comments by our city manager.
And we'll keep it, again, relatively brief. We'd like to welcome Drew Murphy as our new golf course superintendent. He's on board now, and for folks that aren't familiar with golf course operations, you have a club pro, which handles everything from the lessons to the clubhouse activities, what you think of as golf. But then you have the gentleman that in this instance is there, in his sole purpose is the physical environment, the turf, the greens, the tee boxes, the things that we use and abuse when we're out there hacking away on our course. And so we're grateful to have Drew. He comes to us from Johnson County, where he was an assistant golf superintendent there. So we're able to get leverage not only of connections, but a vast knowledge base in turf management and horticulture. And I know Director Landis has been coordinating the transition of the golf course since prior to my arrival, and now definitely since December 30th when we've onboarded. So if you got any additional details, I know she would be happy to answer them. And we want to commend and say congratulations and thank you to Captain Donovan, our A-Shift captain, who has been accepted to the Executive Fire Officer Program at the National Fire Academy. And this is, again, a huge achievement, and we're grateful that he's committed to the profession and to furthering his education that will then be employed for the benefit of us and keeping us and our families safe. So we're proud of Dustin and look forward to him expanding his knowledge base in executive fire management. And then here's some OMA events that we have upcoming. I will save the dad jokes for Commissioner Skidmore, but we've got Elton John, Thunder Road, the Instamatics, and the Bon Jovi. And here's our upcoming agenda items for February 5th. We'll have quarterly reports. We'll go through a brief high-level overview of our strategic documents and what they are and how they play a role in our planning and budget process. And then you'll also have in the consent agenda the approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals November 18th regular meeting or meeting minutes. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to comments by the governing body. We will start with Commissioner Kaler.
None at this time.
Commissioner Crowley.
No comments.
Commissioner Skidmore.
I have nothing.
And since I have nothing near as cool as mastodon bones being found in my property, I will also have nothing to add. We'll move on to the announcements, which are February 5th, our City Commission meeting at 7 p.m., February 12th, City Commission meeting at 4 p.m., February 19th at 10 a.m., and February 26th again at 4 p.m. Since there is no further business,